we eat is one of the most important relationships that we have to the environment. It seems that we've completely forgotten that simple fact. Food is often seen as something manufactured and not a product of nature. So Bill and I want to shine a little light on what makes sense regarding the human diet and why it's so important right now that we make choices that serve not only our personal health but the survival of planet Earth.
This short video is the first in a series that we're going to call Our Food, Our Future. We're going to start with some of the major changes that have happened over the years to what we eat and why we eat it. The decisions that have been made to create our present nutritional wasteland, and how we can move forward toward a healthy future for both human and non-human life. From our ancient origins, human life has migrated to almost every location on the planet. We've settled in deep jungles, Arctic tundra, deserts, and forests. Our primary concern has always been to find food. It's a matter of life and death. If there was an abundance of nutritious plants, that was where we focused our efforts. If the soil was poor or the growing season short, we used animals. We discovered over time that of the 400,000 species of plants, there are only about 200 that are safe for us to eat, and we focused on those. These were not decisions made in a conference hall. They were practical actions aimed at staying alive and creating homeostasis, that life-producing relationship with nature that governs all life. A big part of that adaptation was our ability to alter the quality of food available to meet our needs. We learned to grow specific foods, cook, preserve, ferment, and otherwise make simple changes in the plants we relied on for our well-being.
Consider what a genius trick it was to learn to cook. Cooking allowed us to increase the efficient use of many simple foods that fill our needs. We took the digestive process and made it external. It's just sheer magic. So cooking allowed us to expand the plants that we could use and increase the nutritional impact of them. It also made it possible for us to take cereal grains and beans, the staples, of course, of the human diet over at least the last 10,000 years, and soften the fibres, making the nutrients more available and easier to digest and metabolise. Our understanding of cooking and fermenting foods made it possible for us to nourish our gut biome, reducing the amount of energy needed to digest and efficiently utilise a healthy range of vegetables, grains, beans, and other plant foods. Our food habits have certainly changed over the centuries, most dramatically over the past 100 years. It's during this period that food moved out of the home kitchen and became manufactured on a mass scale. We lost control of our food and just passed it over to an industry. The generation that had grown up during the Great Depression and endured the Second World War wanted an easier life. Food became a primary commercial focus in this quest. Food was marketed as more streamlined, modern, and convenient. Brands fought to establish their fame on either health claims or taste. Corporate America used the desire for an easy life to sell easy to prepare food regardless of the impact on our well-being. The application of new technologies created a diet that was more of a science project. Advertising replaced sound nutritional advice and created the powerful mythologies that dominate the social understanding of a healthy diet. These myths were not driven by either common sense or science, they're driven by corporate greed. What we choose to purchase and what we reject can be a force for the good. So those choices need to be based on a new understanding of our food that addresses the primary issues that affect us all. So let's look at some of the problems and then address the solutions.
Nutrition is not complex, but there's a new vision of what should guide us in our thinking about the food that we eat. It takes us back to our origins. There's an emerging food ethic that will drive any movement toward a healthy diet in the future. It means considering 4 areas of concern when making our food choices. A healthy diet needs to be productive of human well-being. It needs to be environmentally stable. It needs to be generous in its ability to feed the world without exploitation, and it must be a diet that's based on plants and not the killing of animals. What is generally accepted as a modern diet is a direct cause of many of the non-communicable diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, stroke, many cancers, and immune disorders. As many as 600,000 deaths are caused by diet-related issues every year. The mechanisms are well understood and are the result of a diet that is characterized by high caloric intake and low nutritional values. It is a consequence of a diet that is dominated by increased focus on fats, increased consumption of refined sugars, salt, and chemicals, and supersized portions. It is a diet lacking in fiber, complex carbohydrate, vitamins, or the required range of minerals needed to produce health. The solution to preventable human disease issues is a healthy, diverse vegan diet. Modern agribusiness depends on using a toxic mix of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. We all suffer the consequences. Big agriculture is a major source of pollution to groundwater, rivers, streams, and eventually the oceans of the world. Our food system depends on a false image of diversity by shipping food long distances out of season. The pattern of this system undermines local production, product freshness, and requires increased transport and refrigeration of foods. The carbon footprint of our food grows every year. The modern diet also promotes excessive food waste. Up to 45% of the food purchased in America ends up as waste. Waste serves the financial goals of big business. The more you buy, the more you waste. The more you waste, the more you buy.
Having a diet that's based on needless pain, suffering and death should cause us all to pause and reflect on our actions. There's absolutely no reason to continue this cycle of pain outside of pleasure. This diet has completely altered the environment of the planet. The killing of animals has required the destruction of forest lands, oceans, fresh water, soil and the atmosphere as well. Our destructive actions ripple out, causing damage that lies beyond our awareness. Applying a consistent ethic of do not harm would help us all create a diet that produces health for both human and non-human life.
Consider this. There are over 800,000 people who live in a state of hunger. This figure is contrasted against the 700 million who are obese. 17% of the children in America live with food scarcity. Many industries, including agriculture, have contributed to the shortage of drinkable water. All over the world, the modern food web means that local farmers lose their land and are forced to work on plantations that grow food for export rather than raise food for their own families and community. Developed countries such as America have food deserts, where the only foods available to urban populations are fast foods, and there is little or no access to fresh produce.
People ask me all the time, do they not, husband? Marlene, what should I eat? And my response is always the same, and that's always one of positivity. You probably already eat some grains, some beans and vegetables in your diet right now, right? You probably already eat fruit and probably even some nuts and seeds. If you do, simply eat more of those and cut out all the animal source foods, the simple sugars and the chemicals. And there you have it, you're well on your way. A good diet is so simple, inexpensive, tasty and healthy. And as a bonus, it's based on the ways of eating by the world's longest, healthiest living people, solid science and common sense.
The answers to the diet dilemma are very simple. The foods you'll see in the next section are the solution not only to the health issues that plague society, but in creating a new food ethic. Seeds and nuts have been our most important foods over the past 10,000 years of human history. Among all of our foods, cereal grains have the broadest range of nutrients, and they're the most effective foundation for a healthy diet. If cereal grains were fully exploited, they would form the foundation of a healthy human diet. Whole cereal grains were the foundation of agricultural revolution, are at the base of most traditional diets. We eat them as porridges, breads, noodles, or simply cooked whole. Legumes are beans and pulses. They're a natural complement to grains and most traditional diets. Combined with unrefined cereals, they provide an excellent balance of nutrients. Beans are usually prepared by long cooking or even recooking. The use of fermented soybeans as developed in Asia has been a particularly useful addition to a healthy, earth-friendly diet. Products such as miso paste, soya sauce, and tempeh are processed in a way that increases digestibility and makes the protein more bioavailable.
Vegetables reflect the changing of the seasons. The different colours that they show indicate the phytonutrients that are in the foods. A good guideline is to always try and eat any perishable food from local sources and of course in the season of its growth. Be particular about organic quality, that's very important. There are hundreds of varieties of vegetables to choose from. The cruciferous vegetables are very important for most people living in the northern hemisphere in a 4 seasons climate. Squash is a very diverse family of vegetables that originate in the northern hemisphere in the Americas. Roots and tubers are vegetables that grow below the ground, and most of the roots and tubers have been used traditionally as good sources of complex carbohydrate all over the world. Roots are the energy storage system of the plant, and these foods are nutritionally dense and have traditionally been considered as essentials to a healthy diet. Hearty greens, what can I say? I'm in love with them. They're a basic requirement for healthy eating, and some cruciferous vegetables mentioned earlier will fit into this category. If you're eating a plant-based diet, it's very important to have green vegetables every day. The unique concentration of nutrients in dark green vegetables lie in the rich mix of vitamins and minerals. And then we have lighter greens. Having small amounts of raw food daily is a good idea, but remember it's easy to eat too much of raw food in a cooler and colder climate. These salad vegetables are relaxing and refreshing by nature.
Fermented vegetables are important probiotics. They're good to have in small amounts daily. Sauerkraut, one of the most common, is easy to make. Making fresh fermented foods can really promote a healthy gut biome. Sprouting seeds or beans is simply germinating them. You rinse the seeds, clean them, and then soak them, drain the seeds, and rinse at regular intervals. In some parts of the world, sea vegetables are traditionally consumed in moderate amounts regularly to provide a balanced intake of minerals. We normally associate their use with Japan and Korea, but they were also part of the traditional Scottish and Irish diets.
Fruits are in general very perishable, so they're best eaten fresh and in season, and of course local where possible. Tropical fruits are the highest in sugars and acid. Fruits grown further from the equator have much less sugar. Seeds and nuts are an excellent source of protein and fat. When unshelled, they are easy to store for a very long time. Once they're shelled, they can be susceptible to rancidity if left at room temperature unless preserved with salt. One of the most important nutrients is water. If we're lucky enough to have good drinking water available, we are blessed. We should be taking advantage of it. In many parts of the world, there is not enough clean water. Join Bill and I in creating a healthy world for humans and non-humans alike.
Thank you for listening.